Paige, and today I'll be talking about COVID-19 in the United States. So COVID is a global problem, not just a United States one. So it affects all 195 countries in the world, and each country has handled it differently depending on goals within their society. So with the way our country is set up, our state governments follow guidelines set by the federal government, but every state is still different. So for example, in Minnesota, we didn't have the same kind of shutdown as Texas or California. And so in Minnesota, we have prioritized our frontline workers, so our people in the medical facilities and our grocery store workers and every other essential business that we need to survive. So since the United States is a capitalist country, our economy is controlled by private businesses but regulated by the government. So effects of COVID-19 in the United States, we've had an increased unemployment rate, an impact on all businesses, and there's been some scarcity. So a 72-year national average of 5.77% has been increased to 14.7% in April of 2020. So in order to slow the spread of the virus, stay-at-home orders have been put into place. So many businesses have been shut down during this time, and it's about 92% of small businesses have said they've been negatively affected. So scarcity is another effect of COVID-19, and people are overbuying products that have a limited supply. So $274 million in humanitarian aid was sent to 64 of the world's most at-risk countries. So in early March, former President Donald Trump signed an act allowing for $1.3 billion in foreign aid to help countries with the pandemic. So according to Michael Pompeo, former Secretary of State, $33 million of this went to provide water, sanitation, and hygiene supplies, enhance the livelihood support, and increase access to protection and health services, and information for refugees. So Keynesian economic theory is a theory that if you use increased government involvement, it can help pull a country out of economic recession. And so during this, there's no tax increases, but there's just more government involvement. So by using stimulus checks, people are putting the extra money received back into the economy. And then without raising taxes, it gives people a larger disposable income to spend and stimulate the economy with. So economic stabilizers. So we've had stimulus checks that give people a sum of money to put back into the economy. So you can have an additional $1,200, and qualifying children under 17 could receive $500 each. As of February 9th, 2021, some citizens have received 2 stimulus checks. Without increasing taxes during this time, people have had a higher amount of disposable income to spend. So people can use to pay their rent and pay for food and all other necessities that they need. And then small business loans. So the Paycheck Protection Program is a loan available to small businesses. It is designed to provide direct incentive for small businesses to keep their workers on the payroll. So first draw PPP loans can be used to help fund payroll costs, including benefits, and it may also be used for mortgage interest, rent, utilities, and worker protection costs related to COVID, so masks and the shields and stuff. So then uninsured property damage caused by looting or vandalism during 2020 can also be covered under the PPP loan. So if small businesses can have enough money to keep operating in the future and keep people employed, the country can keep working its way out of recession and into a time of economic expansion. So unemployment insurance also serves as a temporary substitute for people who have lost their job or have been laid off. So if a person is eligible for this benefit in Minnesota, the weekly amount earned is about 50% of their average weekly wage, with a state set maximum of $762. So unemployment insurance was available to a worker for up to 39 weeks due to the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. So the CARES Act was the largest economic stabilizer in U.S. history. So COVID has definitely had costs to society. So one of them is scarcity. So we are running out of things that we need. So when people buy in excess, there isn't enough for someone else. So for example, we had shortages of PPE, ventilators, toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and some food products. So with these increased unemployment rates, we have had financial and non-financial costs. So financial costs can include a loss of income, and then another cost would be a decrease in a country's GDP due to the recession. So non-financial costs can include mental and physical health decreases, and that leads to a decrease in a person's standard of living. And then higher unemployment rates also lead to higher suicide and crime rates. So in Minnesota, we have our frontline workers. And so without these people in the areas like the hospitals and grocery stores, the people are working extra long shifts to help fill in for the lack of other people there. So another problem getting in the way of staffing is opinions. So with an election as big as the one we had this past year, we have definitely been able to see the split between the Republican and Democratic people. So some people can set aside this difference and keep working, but others are being split in the workplace. So economic recovery and growth is valued deeply by the United States. Without it, we would be living in the past and unable to handle the current pandemic like we are. So this leads to an increase in our standard of living and allows for this to happen. So with a consistent government response, we need a further extension of unemployment insurance, increased funding for food assistance programs like SNAP, more support for state and local governments, and an increase in renters assistance. We also need an increase in funding for childcare. If more of these features were in place, our country would be able to pull itself out of the current economic recession. We also need to see citizens keeping up with social distancing and wearing masks in order to help the country open back up. Overall, the United States has been negatively affected by COVID-19, and the U.S. government response was not an effective long-term solution to bounce back from the effects of COVID. The resilience of our country will not happen overnight, but will continue to take time and effort.